I wrote this for Galaxy Ezine. Set in a very unclear time period. Actually, it was supposed to be 2254, as I remember, but that was settled on much later. Set in a very unclear time period, high up in a secret mountaintop retreat somewhere on planet Earth, Captain Video and his video rangers were live broadcasts of the adventures of this brave group of space police. Their uniforms were generally suit and tie with a football helmet, insignia glued on rather clumsily. The total budget per show ranged somewhere around $25 to $100. Captain Video's sidekick was a youngish fellow known only as the Video Ranger. Captain Video's boss was the Commissioner of Public Safety, whose jurisdiction involved the western sector of the Milky Way galaxy. Captain Video was DuMont Television's entry into video broadcasts starting in 1949, only 2 years after the first public TV sets were offered on sale. Television sets numbered in the hundreds at this time. Tobor, which is robot backwards, was a featured character on the show and was definitely the first televised robot on public channels anywhere. The show was broadcast live from the DuMont studio in the Wanamaker department store building, which was on the way home from school for me when we lived in Stuyvesant Town. So naturally, I stopped in after school and sat in the kids section behind the enormous early TV cameras. Captain Video was as popular with all ages of viewers as was I Spy, Get Smart, Wild Wild West, and Man from U.N.C.L.E. during the heyday of the spy shows in the 1960s. The show was so popular with adults that it ran in prime time from 7 o'clock to 7:30 on the DuMont network at what is now news time. The size of the budget is only apparent when you note that the curtain separating the cockpit from the rest of the ship was at first only a shower curtain from the housewares department in the Wanamaker store. The football helmet space gear was from the sporting goods department, and many of the props were borrowed from Wanamaker's and then returned at the end of the show. Captain Video's live adventures were limited during the first 3 years to about 20 minutes. Ranger Rogers would introduce Captain Video's undercover agents and then show a typical Republic serial featuring cowboys and such. Dr. Paulie was Captain Video's Moriarty. He was an insane and malevolent evil inventor whose inventions always resembled something you might find in a large retail department store, such as Wanamaker's. Sometimes they take suggestions from us kids about what to use for Dr. Paulie's latest invention. I saw several hundred broadcasts, and the prop director was always appreciative of suggestions from the peanut gallery. Yes, I was present at live broadcasts of Howdy Doody, also as well as Magic Cottage, Mr. Imagination, Coop the Friend, and Ollie, and more. The primary spaceship that the producers settled on was a V2 style ship called the Galaxy, since most of the writers on the show were also writers from my dad's science fiction magazine, Galaxy, which was one of the big 3 SF magazines of the 1950s. Richard Coogan created the role of Captain Video and did the broadcast for about 1.5 years. When he left the show to try his hand at live theater on Broadway, his replacement was Al Hodge, who continued the role until the show's cancellation in 1955, which was also the demise of the DuMont network. Al was a good friend, and he and his wife, who I believe was his second marriage, used to visit us for dinner with the kids, who I think were his wife's by another marriage. Another family friend, Don Hastings, played the Special Ranger throughout the show's relatively long life, 6 years, which was a record for Pioneer TV shows, along with the Milton Berle Show, which aired during the same years. Ed Norton on The Honeymooners is a character who is a big fan of Captain Video, and the show, Captain Video, is mentioned on The Honeymooners in at least 2 episodes. Station breaks were peppered with exhortations toward honor, decency, and ethics, along with live commercials for various Captain Video products. The most memorable was the pitch for the Captain Video decoder ring, which had not only a decoder and a signal mirror, but a compass and a 2-way lens device that was, well, I'll let the Video Ranger tell it. And hey, kids, look through the small end, and it's a magnifier. Look through the other end, and it's a smallifier. I never forgot that, and we kids roared with appreciative laughter as he said that line. Early on, there were no scripts. Everything was improvised from a general story outline. But by the year 1952, scripts were being written by my dad's stable of Galaxy SF writers. Damon Knight, James Blish, Jack Vance, Isaac Asimov, Cyril M. Kornbluth, Milt Lesser, Walter M. Miller Jr., Robert Sheckley, Nintosh, Evelyn Smith, Jerome Bixby, and one script by my dad, Horace L. Gold, in collaboration with me at the age of 13, my first script in collaboration with him, but not by any means the last. Russell and Haverstrode added separate special effects for the show sometime in 1952 using models and 16mm film effect spots made at the Bunnin studio uptown, inserted as required by the script. Maury Bunnin was famous for stop-frame animation, but also did a lot of outside work. I worked for Hope and Maury Bunnin on their production of Alice in Wonderland and had the delight of also working on the set of Foodini at about that same time. Foodini was a hand puppet who performed magic tricks on television. It was about this time that I met Senior Wences, who taught me a few simple tricks of ventriloquism and how to write a ventriloquist act. He encouraged me to make my own vent doll, and I did. I made a minor living at this later on in Los Angeles on a census trip in the 1960s. Only 7 of the many hundreds of Captain Video shows are available today, along with 24 more in the UCLA Film Archives. They alone survived the destruction of the entire DuMont Film Archive in the mid-1970s, in which almost all early television shows were obliterated forever by Metro Media, the company that inherited the film archives. I was working for Metro Media at the time and quit my job in the mailroom in protest to their stupid, short-sighted actions so reminiscent of the destruction of the library at Alexandria. But frankly, knowing those cold-hearted, bottom-line bastards, I don't think they noticed a thing.
Oh, nice.